Broadcasting live from the Vegas Video Network studios, just steps from the Las Vegas Strip, it's Talktails with Chris Phillips. Coming up on today's show, longtime Vegas headliner Clint Holmes and his beautiful wife, Kelly Clinton-Holmes. And now a man whose pillowcases are made from Crown Royal velvet bags, Mr. Chris Phillips.
How exciting. Well, thank you, my friends. I can't tell you how much money you folks are saving me in therapy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world. Or at least that's what us entertainers like you to think. We are so happy to have you. It's Monday afternoon, and you are watching the Vegas Video Network. My name is Chris Phillips, and you were watching, without question, the most exciting new program on the internet called Talktails. And we are thrilled that you would take your time to tune in to see me kind of participate in one of my many habits, and to talk with the people who get to, I guess you say, make this the, I would think, the greatest city in the world, the people who make it tick. And today is such an amazing thrill for me because we have, without question, one of the most famous, most talented, most incredible entertainers in Las Vegas, and she incidentally brought her husband with her. But before we get started, I would like you to know, of course, as usual, you can contact us anytime with any comments or questions simply by going to Talktails at vegasvideonetwork.com. And we are also big time now and have a toll-free number which you can call. That is 866-966-4599. And today was supposed to be a really exciting, happy day for me, but once I got to the studio, I learned some bad news that I have to say, Scott, I'm a little disappointed because I found out over the weekend that there was a network putt-putt golf tournament that everybody was invited to, except for Zoe Bowie.
Okay, let's go ahead and clarify this real quick.
No, please do, Scott. And incidentally, I really like those little shoes with toes, by the way. Do they sell shoes for men where you got those? Or?
Really? Is this how this is? I just want you to know that I can shut this down right. As a matter of fact, we're done. Show's over. So just to be clear here, I have sent you in my times with you, I'm guessing somewhere in the neighborhood of, let's call it 20 emails.
Emails?
Yeah. In the course of that time, I've received back to you 0 replies.
Well, you might as well go to my MySpace, which I haven't looked at in 3 years. I don't even know what email is.
All right, so I've texted you as well. Dear Chris, please check your email.
Text.
Nothing. So you were invited. We would love to have, we had shots before we played golf. It was great.
Okay, so that's the problem. You didn't want me to drink you out of your cheap booze you probably brought. That's fine. Well,
this is going to be a rough show. I can feel it.
Well, not to embarrass you even more, Scott, but I heard Mr. Corral beat you handedly at putt-putt
this
golf.
is enough. All right, so here's what happened. I've got film of this, and so first of all, the actual winner of the tournament was our great and powerful Jacob Cannon right here. Shot a 49 on an 18. Now, Wayne, who we're going to be missing shortly, Wayne shot a 55, and I shot a 55. So we had a sudden death putt-putt playoff on the 18th hole. Wayne shot first and went into the dirt. I shot, beautiful layup. Wayne shot, missed it, naturally. Shot a third, got it in 3. It was pretty good, so I did my second shot, was a little off. Third shot, decided I didn't want to see a puppy cry. So I hit it. I hit the ball towards the hole, lipped it, did a little and went out. So he, in fact, did win the playoff. I commend him for that. But have you seen a puppy cry? You can't do it. So I congratulate Wayne for winning.
Well, gosh, I'm sorry. I missed all that drama.
And then we went swimming.
And then you went
margaritas.
Well, speaking of also being disappointed over the weekend, our dear friend Ira, who is kind of the network photographer, and I'm sure he gets paid well.
Really? Is this going to go on all day?
He was kind enough to invite me and Marley my singing partner, business partner, and dear friend, to go see one of my idols, Barry Manilow, at the Paris Hotel. And I think, as anyone who is an entertainer in this town, particularly our guests today, believe in, I guess, what you might call the work ethic. And I can probably speak for them by saying that I am the same way, that if there are 2 people in the audience or 20,000 people in the audience, you come out and you give the show of your lifetime, because even if it's 2 people, there's 2 people who paid to see you and want to see a great show. That wasn't the case last night, I don't think. I love Barry Manilow. I grew up, I'm his biggest fan, but I think because, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm being cynical, but the audience was, maybe half full, maybe 2/3, and I think that once it got to be about 25, 30 minutes beyond when the show was going to start, they decided Barry's not going to play to a half-full room, so they canceled the show. And so I know that there was a lot of those little fanalos out there that come in from all over the world excited to see it, but they were very let down. Thank God ours were comp tickets, or we would have got... we got what we paid for, I suppose. But that would never happen with my 2 guests today. This is big time for me, because these are genuine stars. My gosh, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us singer, dancer, all-round actor, entertainer, big-time entertainment man. We are so proud to have with us Mr. Clint Holmes today. Ladies and gentlemen, he is sitting to my right.
Look at the timing on that. How are you, brother? It's good to see you. That, I got to tell you, that was interesting, what you just
I know, isn't
said.
it?
Well,
seriously, because would you ever do that if you thought that maybe it was a little light?
All the time. And I think in the country, if there aren't at least 5,000 people in the room, I'm not on. No, but let me tell you a quick story. Years and years ago, I was in Washington, D.C., and I had my hit record. My name is Michael, I got a nickel. Right, it was so that long ago, 74, 75. And we played this great little club called the Port of Georgetown. There were always lines out the door. You couldn't get in, blah, blah, blah. One night, there's a snowstorm. And I called the band and said, can you get there? And it was that bad a snowstorm, you know. Everybody said, well, yeah, we can get there. So we go. And there are, instead of 300 people, there are maybe 30 people, right? So I go out there and I say to the guys in the band, let's do some tunes we never do. And we made it up. And we didn't do our show. And it was okay, but we didn't do the show. On the way out, a lady comes up to me and says, you know, tonight is my anniversary. And my husband's gift was to bring me to see you, and we drove 75 miles through the snowstorm from Hagerstown, Maryland, to come see you, and thank you. We had a great time, and I just felt like such a jerk because I had not done the show. That was my lesson in, you know, like you just said, if there's 20 people there, you don't know what, they pay. B, it could be an event that they planned for and they're excited about.
It made it a destination.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that was luckily that was a long time ago, and I learned my lesson. And yes, every time I walk on stage, I try to like you, just do everything I can to give them the best show I got.
Well, I think one of the things that makes you stick out as not just a great talent, but a great entertainer, but as a great person, and that is you genuinely care about the people who come to see you. And you're a reflection of the energy of the people that are in the room, and that's why you've become such a genuine article over the years, because you theoretically, as many people that might have a big hit at one point in their life, sometimes you never hear of them again. You didn't even hit your stride and become Mr. Important Pants till 20 years later. When incidentally,
Mr. Important Pants.
Do you know, folks, that we are talking to the Entertainer of the Year, not just 1 or 2 years, but 3 years in a row out in Atlantic City before you came to Las Vegas. Is that correct?
That's correct. And here, I mean, those are nice things. I love the stage. I live.
I know you do.
And you know. So why wouldn't I? I mean, why wouldn't I come out and it's joyful. You know, when we're on stage, the interaction between the audience and the band and the entertainers, it's the most joyful time. So I never, and I know you don't either, I don't look at it as work.
No, of course not.
I look at it as well, this is going to sound corny, but kind of as a privilege. You know, I mean, who gets to walk out on stage for 90 minutes and say to people, okay, pay attention to me, laugh at my jokes, applaud me when I sing, love me. Okay, here we go. I mean, that's our job.
Now,
you know?
I'm guessing you got a lot of, or I should say you were influenced, I guess, a lot by your family, your mother and your father in particular, who were entertainers.
Well, yeah, both of them were singers. My mom still is 95. You know,
is she really?
She was an opera singer, and my dad was a jazz singer.
Now, she's from England, correct?
Yes, right, exactly. I was born in England, actually. I was born
Hampshire?
in Bournemouth, England. Bournemouth.
We have a lady in the studio audience who, there she is over there taking your picture, who was born at, where are you? Yorkshire.
Yes, they have pudding.
Yeah, so she was a fan of you back when you were there, what was it, 64 years ago? I'm sorry.
So anyway, it's been great being here. Which are you, Zoe or Bowie?
Yes. 75 years ago? No. Anyway.
We just took an ugly turn. What happened?
No. I'll tell you something. No, this is beyond exciting for us because you were, without question, a super entertainer. And your father, in his own right, was a jazz musician?
Jazz, yeah, my dad was a jazzer. I think, it's funny. I think that the one thing that was always supported in my house when I was a kid was the music. No one came to see me play baseball. No one, they didn't. But boy, if I was going to sing, they showed. And I guess we all want our parents' approval when we're kids, and that's how. That's the one thing that I could do that would make both my parents sit up and take notice was sing. I come from, my dad was black. My mom is white. So I come from that background, and where I lived, we were the only family of color in this little town, and certainly the only interracial kind of family. So it was also about where do I fit? Where's my place in all of this? And music was my place. Music, because when I sang, everybody went, oh, so it became very important in my life. It still is.
Now, I find this interesting. You grew up, if I understand, near Buffalo.
Yes, outside
New
of
York,
Buffalo.
which is interesting because
it's
another
a little
very
town
good
called
friend.
Shintoville.
Yeah, I was going to say the fact that we have
Shintoville. It's just outside of Buffalo.
a good friend of ours, Frankie Shinton.
And I've known them since then.
That's amazing.
I know.
The talent that came out of that area that eventually evolved to Las Vegas is interesting.
Well, have you spent a winter in Buffalo?
I'll tell you, I can't even fathom what you folks went through. I'm born and raised in the desert, so I don't even know what snow is.
Really, I know. It's really something. Yeah, it is. I came out here in '99 on a permanent basis, and in 2000 I went to Harrah's, and literally within the first 2 weeks I was there, the Shintas come to the show, and I was like, boy, you guys came all the way out here to see me, and they said, no, we're opening at the Hilton.
Now, you came out here and you immediately took over the town.
No, not really.
With many accolades written about you and awards and such. I mean, you went from being Entertainer of the Year in Atlantic City, but you came here and you became Best Kept Secret, Best Singer, Best All-Around Performer, Favorite Male Las Vegas.
That's my favorite. The least I like is the secret. Best Kept Secret, because that's not the idea.
No, it's not.
But I love that. The one year I won a Favorite Male Las Vegas, it was an off year. I think Oscar Goodman and Steve Wynn and a whole lot of people were out of town that year because that was a one-time thing, but that was pretty cool. But the one that's not, I don't think it's in this notes. I actually was voted one of the 10 sexiest men in Las Vegas. That was back in the 30s. But that was another one that was really cool. I have no idea who votes. I have no idea who votes, or if they can see anything, or anything. But anyway, that was cool.
Well, I can tell you, myself included, entertainers over the years have aspired to just have just a fraction of some of the talent and success you have had. And going back to Buffalo, I guess you were in the Buffalo Musical Hall of Fame?
Yeah, and so are the Shintas, absolutely.
Oh, my gosh.
In fact, they came that night to give me the award. It was while I was at Harrah's, yeah. I'm rewriting my bio. Every once in a while you have to update your bio.
Sure.
And it's funny to look at it and you go, wow, I was there? The proudest thing, if we're talking about that kind of thing, was that Altavis Davis, Sammy's widow and
former showgirl.
Yeah,
sure.
Came in and gave me the Sammy Davis Jr. Foundation Award. That was a big deal, man. I mean, because you and I both share a love of.
Well, speaking
Sammy.
of inspiration, I'm guessing that Sammy Davis Jr. is up on the top of your list in terms of those who inspired you to be an all-encompassing entertainer.
Well, don't you feel that way?
What did he mean to you?
Don't you feel that way too?
Well, he is the ultimate entertainer.
Yeah. What did he mean
hence,
to me?
in lieu of any talent, I just wear a lot of rings and jewelry. And
stop it. No, you know what? Sammy epitomized that work ethic that you were talking about before.
Yes.
You knew that every time he stepped on stage, he gave the audience everything he had. Plus, I saw him in Carnegie Hall many years ago, and he did his show. And at one point in the show, he turned his back to the audience, took what seemed like 2 minutes, walked to the piano, got a cigarette out, lit the cigarette, took a couple of puffs, took a drink, put it down, started walking back, and it occurred to me that for like 2 minutes, this entire Carnegie Hall audience was like this.
Just mesmerized.
Watching a guy walk to the piano and that's charisma.
Yes.
I mean, you know what I mean? He just had the deal. He was the deal. I was really honored to know him, you know, really.
So you did know him?
Oh, yeah, I knew.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, we weren't close, but I certainly
That's
knew
amazing.
him. The last time I think the last time I saw him, he was working with Bill Cosby here, and he, at the end of the evening, I went to see the show, and then we went downstairs to the dress. Lou Rawls, Bill Cosby, Sammy Davis Jr., Bill Fain, who you know, and me, sitting in a dressing room. Bill Fain and I said nothing. We listened to the most incredible stories from Cosby and Lou Rawls and Sammy. And as we were leaving, Sammy said, here's my number. Call me. I want to pass the torch.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, and unfortunately, then he had the hip thing, and then he got very sick. So I did see him once more. I did at an event in L.A., but I never got to do that. But just the honor of him saying it.
Well, I remember when I first came to town 5 years ago, the first show that Marley and I ever went to was the show that everybody in town was recommending. And
when did you come see my show?
So we went to see Wayne Newton.
Yeah, I get it.
So, no, but the first show we ever saw was you when you, in fact, were at Harris.
Uh-huh.
And we were blown away. And the first thing I turned to Marley and I said, this guy embodies the spirit and the talent that I haven't seen since Sammy Davis Jr. But he's got the comedic stylings of, and I think you even talked about it at one point, of like a Don Rickles or a Bill Cosby, which I think you...
I worked with them.
It shows.
Yeah, I especially Don, Joan Rivers, and Cos. And I would sit and watch Bill Cosby. Here's Bill Cosby. And you do this too. There's a certain way entertainers I think are enlarged versions of their natural selves on stage. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I'd be standing with Cosby. I'd finish my show, and he'd be backstage. And I'd go back, and he'd say, so listen, there's an Italian restaurant, and I'll be about an hour late. And you hear the voice going, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome. And he's going, so I'll meet you there at about 10:15. Bill Cosby, and we'll have a nice dinner. They make great lasagna. And he walks on stage, good evening, everybody. And it's the exact same guy. There is no difference between the guy standing there. You know what I'm saying? Sure. And I learned a lot from that.
Don't you think an audience can pick up on that, though? Yeah. The genuine article compared to somebody who puts on some kind of facade.
Exactly right. And that was a huge lesson to see that night after night, that he just was, now he's talking to them instead of me. It was the same guy. You know, and I think that I've learned to have some parts of that in what I do, that I am who I am, and people do connect with that. You have that same thing, Chris. I mean, you're not,
oh, Clint.
No, you do. You have that same thing. You're ebullient here.
Wow!
Check that.
Wow!
That word, spelling word. I know. I know. I'm listening to Cole Porter songs right now.
Yes.
Because I'm doing this show with a lot of Cole Porter in it.
Sure.
That guy was unbelievable, and the words he used, like ebullient, really, and anyway. So, you are who you are right here, and you the same guy on stage, and the same guy when I see you out, half drunk at like the bootlegger. Same guy, same guy.
That's pretty typical for me, as it is here.
But it's great.
Well, you'd mentioned just briefly Joan Rivers.
Yeah.
I think one of the coolest things. What was that like? And for many of you may or may not remember, you were her, I guess you might say, Ed McMahon,
yeah,
when she was on for a couple of years with her own television show. That's a pretty good gig.
Well, yeah. Can I tell you how I got that gig? Joan, I was opening for her, at the time, kind of traveling around. And she came to Atlantic City, and I was there, and I went over to say hello, and I said, so how's the show going? And she said, well, we have a great band leader, we have a great band. She said, I'm still looking for an announcer. And I went, Joan Rivers! And she went, hey, that's not bad.
Really?
And they flew me out, and I auditioned in a room with Barry Diller, who was the head of the network, and his henchman, and Joan and her husband Edgar and the director, and it was in just a table, and they give me a script, and I remember just the sweat dripping off me trying to read this. And her guests are blah 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 and stuff, and so I did the audition. I went back to the place I was staying. Joan called me and she said, they don't want you to have the job, but I do. Would you mind staying in town a couple more days? And I said, absolutely. And whatever went through, I get the call 2 days later. You have the job, and there I was, an announcer, and that's that. I mean, it was just Joan. It was totally Joan making sure I got on.
National exposure, and I'm sure that lent to some of your future success. I would
Well, yeah. From that, obviously. I got Entertainment Tonight. This was in like the mid '80s, and in LA.
Kind of a correspondent, weren't you?
Yeah, you're good.
Musical events and various.
I was a musical correspondent, and then from that, I got my own show in New York on WOR called New York at Night that I did in 1991.
Kind of a talk show.
It was a talk show.
That's cool.
Yeah. No. This is kind of a talk show. My show was a talk show. Yeah. Well, what? He started it when I walked out.
Well, I'll tell you something. Now that you've said that, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit because we have somebody in what we refer to as our live chat room who is a fan of yours and has a question, if you don't mind answering. Scott, out of the 2 viewers that we currently have, one of them has a question, I believe.
Yeah, first one, Dave wants to know, why is Clint so mean to Scott?
So mean to Scott. I'm not mean to you. Chris is mean to you.
This is the talk show that you just made fun of.
Oh. Okay, let me publicly apologize. I meant to be mean to Chris. Okay.
Okay, and actually Nate wants to know, was Clint aware of the heat Joan got from Carson for taking that gig?
Oh, God, yes. I'm very aware of that. You know, that was a tough time for Joan. She has HBO did a documentary on Joan that I highly recommend. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. I bet that'd be very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
An interesting gal.
It's like a year in the life of what we do.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's quite amazing. And she talked about, from her point of view, that she did call Johnny, that, quote unquote, he never got the message, evidently. And before, and then, of course, they announced it, and then Johnny and his people were upset, and she never talked to him again, ever.
Wow.
Ever talk to him again. So it was I know how much Joan loved him and how much she genuinely understood what he did for her career.
Well, of course.
So I think it was one of the horrible misunderstandings, honestly, that happened. But, you know, Joan is the kind of person, I saw Joan about a month ago here, and I hadn't seen her in maybe 5 or 6 years, and it was as if we saw each other yesterday.
For heaven's sakes, that's wonderful.
She's sensational. I love her.
Well, she's an amazing person that
she's 70-something, and her energy is like yours. You know what I mean? She's
intoxicated.
No, that's a good thing. No, she's amazing. She's great.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's so much more I wanted to get to and touch on with you, particularly with what you've been up to lately and what you've got going on. But I'm so anxious to get your wife out here.
Yes.
That we're going to take a short little break, and when we come back, folks, we have. I guess you might say kind of the Carol Burnett or the Lucille Ball of today. She's absolutely the most incredibly beautiful and talented young lady. And it incidentally is your wife. You scored, my friend.
lucky,
I don't know how you wrangled her into your life, but we have Miss Kelly Clinton coming up in just a second. My name is Chris Phillips. You're watching Talktails, and we will be right back.
Let me know when I'm live. Hi everybody, this is Bridget Magnus of Getting Real Estate in Vegas, and you are watching the Vegas Video Network.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you once again for tuning into the Vegas Video Network. My name is Chris Phillips, otherwise known as, I guess my drinking name, Zoe Bowie. And you're watching Talktails, and today we have some big-time Vegas entertainers with us. And we could not be more proud and happy to introduce the lovely Kelly Clinton, ladies and gentlemen. A star in her own right, but also probably one of the most patient ladies in Clark County to be married to Clint Holmes.
Oh, it's hard to keep up with.
Sorry, this turned into a roast all of a sudden.
He's got a lot of energy, I will tell you that.
You know, what a dynamic couple you two are. Again, I'm proud of Clint for somehow not only meeting you, but convincing you that you guys would make a great couple. You are so talented. You do so many things. You are a singer, an actress, a comedian, an impressionist. I have seen you on various levels doing your own one-woman shows, to being Broadway musicals, and to even hosting your own thing you do every Monday at the Bootlegger. Now, when did you start all this? I know you've been entertaining since you were about 12 years old or something, if I recall. Where did
I started on
back in New Jersey.
Yes, on my front porch. That's right.
How did you get going?
Kids. Well, I always tell my husband that when I was probably 5 years old, or 5 or 6 years old, I saw Carol Burnett.
Wow.
The Carol Burnett show, and I was mesmerized, and I actually I remember putting my eyeball right on the screen trying to look onto the set to see how to get in there. I just related to her so much. She was just so much fun. She was and she was a beautiful lady, That's not the part that I relate to, but I'm saying she was a beautiful, elegant lady, Bob Mackie dresses. And,
yes, stunning.
And then she would ask the audience, they would ask her questions, and then she would go crazy during those sketches.
I think that's part of her magic, and that was when, not only through her talents, through her sketches and her and things she'd done on stage, but it was her connection with the audience. And I think that's one of the things that separates you from 99% of the entertainers in this city, is your ability to take a situation and just run with it, with your off-the-cuff comedic skills. I've seen you do it so many times, and there's so few who know how to do this. But you're so multifaceted in your talents. You've been involved in TV, the stage, you know, and everything else. You've hosted events. What's your particular passion in terms, if you had to pick one thing? Are you a singer? Are you a comedian?
Ooh.
You like live audiences? You like TV? What's your thing?
This is like therapy.
Yes.
I have to pick one. I really don't have a favorite, except I really lean towards the humor. The humor, and the sillier the better. I have a closet full of wigs and hats and stomachs, if you will, mustaches. I have everything. I have helmets and trumpets, and so I guess if I was really to ask myself what I love the most, it's the sketch.
Well, that must be so exciting, because you mentioned Carol Burnett as a tremendous influence as, you know, a kid watching her and seeing her do a little thing. And then years later, if I understand correctly, you got to appear on TV with Vicki Lawrence.
Wow,
her
you're
sidekick.
good.
Oh, gosh.
You're the only person who knows that.
Really? Along with Chevy Chase and many other shows.
You're right. Well, I was
But Vicki
fortunate.
Lawrence has got to be something of a... You know, my gosh, that cast
thrilled,
was unbelievable.
Yeah. Watching those people on television growing up, watching it, and then actually meeting them and getting to be on her show. I was with Engelbert Humperdinck at the time.
Goodness.
Not as a girlfriend or anything, but I was a backup singer. I also worked with Wayne Newton, but Engelbert was on the Vicki Lawrence show, and I was thrilled.
That's a living legend right there.
Yes. Tell them how you met Carol.
Oh, you did meet Carol?
I did.
Oh, I didn't know
that.
that.
Get to meet Carol Burnett.
Oh, how exciting.
Only about 5 years ago. Big dream, big dream. There was the opening of Phantom of the Opera, and Clint was friends with Hal Prince, right? And he who directed Phantom of the Opera and many Broadway shows. And he was a guest of hers, and we walked over, and there she was sitting with her husband, and we were all introduced to her, and I just kept telling myself, don't freak out. Don't do that thing, because I've done that thing where I've, stuck my foot in my mouth. Someone, I was like, Gladys Knight. I was like, how did you are? And she said, security. So I was like, I can't do it, because this is number one, Carol Burnett. So I just said, don't say anything, just say hello, nice to meet you. And then my logic set in and said, this could be your only chance. What are you, crazy? So I said, Carol Burnett. She was down here. That's why I'm looking down. She's not short. She was just right here. I said, Carol Burnett, you're the reason that I'm an entertainer. And she reached up and took my face and put it to her cheek, and her eyes were filled with water. And she was just, it meant something.
What a moment.
To her.
Yeah.
I figured,
sure.
She's probably had so many people say it to her, but she,
that's special
she
for
was
sure.
very kind. And
then she said,
sweet.
and who are you?
And then she called security, and then I was dragged.
No, that was great. I'm so glad you did that.
Oh, so exciting.
Well, one thing that I have always wanted to ask both of you, being a fan of both of you, in your own right, how did you two even meet? I'm assuming you met prior to any kind of a relationship that blossomed from
in
that.
a bar. We were drinking.
No, we were friends. We were friends for how long before
about 4 years.
About 4 years.
Through the entertainers circles,
Yes.
I guess?
Lena Prima is her best friend.
My best friend.
And Lena
Louis
knew
Prima's
Bill
daughter.
Fain,
His
my
best friend.
pianist. And I think Bill said, hey, you should come see our show. And Kelly and Lena came, and that's how we met. I mean, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I knew who Clint was. I saw him on all the television shows that you mentioned.
Of course.
But I'd never seen his show, and I thought, oh my goodness, I became a big fan fast. Then we became friends. We worked together. We did a television show with
No, we
Sheena
did here
Easton.
a local TV show with Sheena Easton.
Yes, it was called Vegas Live.
You got it.
Correct?
Yeah, we did that for...
Yes, I remember.
Oh, you're all knowing, Chris.
Oh, and that's why I get the big bucks here on the Vegas Video Network. Oh, my God. One thing you also did, which a lot of people don't know, that goes along with your comedic stylings, is you were actually a winner of America's funniest people. That
right.
I did
Oh, my
not know
goodness.
until yesterday.
I did.
That's amazing. That's cool.
I lost to the cup stackers. Aren't they funny? No, but that was a thrill too. I can't remember the bit, but it was cup stackers. But it was Cher and Elvis as Romeo and Juliet, and I don't think I remember what it was. But okay, it goes a little something like that.
I knew you wouldn't disappoint us.
Romeo, Romeo, wherefore out there, Romeo? How comest thou hither? Whatever that means. Woo! I'm right here, baby, right here, down in that garden, baby. Rock and roll. But it was way better.
I've never seen that before.
The cup stacking thing traumatized me. And
Yeah, I can imagine.
no, but that was a thrill.
I've never seen a lady do Jimmy Stewart before. That's amazing.
Oh, hurt. Oh,
It's not just you. It's got to balance this out. See?
yeah, that's right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's equal
Wow.
opportunity insults. Yes.
Gosh.
No. This is really cool because I took on a whole new appreciation for you actually when I got to see you just recently in the musical Nonsense. How did you get that role? That was amazing.
How did I get? What do you mean by that? Do you mean?
Did they
you
call
mean?
you up
How
or
did
did you
you
audition?
get that role?
I got a call from Jackie Bascal Agency, and they sent me on the audition, and I had a great time. And I thought, well, what are the odds? And I got the part that I really wanted to play, which was.
I can't see anybody in that part other than you at this point. There's
Sister Amnesia.
hilarious.
So it was just was I in the show?
Yes, you were.
Remember.
You were in a
But
lot.
what happened was, I don't know if this is old news, but a week before the before the opening, I said to my husband, "Do you want to see the tap number?" And he lied and said yes. And so there I was in the living room shuffling off to Buffalo, and I slipped on the tile and I cracked my foot like a chicken bone, and I was out of the show before it opened. But they waited for me, Nancy Gregory, the director.
she's so sweet.
And then I got to do the show for about 7 months, and then I cracked my foot again. So but it was so much fun. I felt like Carol Burnett.
That's what I was thinking when I was watching it. You kind of possessed her kind of a spirit. And like I said, I couldn't even imagine the show without you being in it.
And I had a puppet. So, what's better than that?
You can't go wrong without a puppet.
You can't go wrong with a puppet.
See, that's what you need in your show.
No, that's what I am in the relationship.
Well, speaking of which, you guys are a married couple.
Yes.
You obviously,
The word's out.
you seem very happy. You both, and this is interesting because I had a couple of your friends on here last week, Dominic Allen and his wife, Lee Zimmerman, who are both individually talented and have, as I mentioned to them, they each have their egos that go along with being an entertainer.
Sure.
How does that work with you guys in the dynamic at home? Is there ever any kind of friction or, I guess you might say, touchy times?
I would.
Especially if you're ever apart.
I would honestly say
I
that.
can't wait to hear.
No,
Yeah, this is
honestly,
I can relate to this, obviously.
The honest answer to that question is that we really support each other, and I have great respect for Kel, and I know she does for me. And I mean, obviously, there are times when you don't want to step on anybody's feelings and so on and so forth. But 99% of the time, it's great because she gets it right away, and she never, at least, seems to be tired of me and my. What do you think of this? And she's the same way. Remember when I said, wasn't that funny? What do you think of this? I mean, it's great. I think that the appreciation we have for each other as entertainers really is part of the reason that that our relationship works.
Well, what I think is so special too is when I've come to see you do your performances, you'll have Clint come up and join you.
Oh,
And quite honestly, this is just my opinion. When you two work together, there's obviously a chemistry that you take from home and bring onto stage that I think people would love to see more of, to be honest.
I couldn't agree with you more, Chris.
Oh, me too. I absolutely agree. No,
it's like Lucy and Ricky. No, but
do you ever see something happening in the future where there might be a project where you two can do something?
We are more and more.
Really?
We're going back east at the end of this month to do a couple of concerts back east, and she's Actually, it was funny when I got one of them in particular. I got the contract comes to the thing, and I'm looking down, and okay, money, fine, the transportation, rooms. Kelly Clinton must be a part of the show. I went, wait, is it? I swear to God.
Boy, can I relate to that?
Contract, right? Yeah, right. But we are. We're working more and more together. But you know, Kelly has so much going on now.
I know you do.
Really great things, and I have craziness going on too. It's a really exciting time for both of us individually and collectively.
Well, in that case, if you don't mind, we're going to take just another quick, short little break. When we come back, I want to hear a little bit more about what you all have going on today and maybe into the future. And I also would like to talk a little bit about what your opinions are of the state of live music in Vegas today.
Got it.
Folks, you're watching Chris Phillips. I am...
Are you?
Act like a drunk fool on our new show called Talktails on the Vegas Video Network. We have Clint Holmes and his very lovely wife, Kelly Clinton, with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Scott Pritchard from Let's Bet. You're watching the Vegas Video Network. It's Vegas Video Network, not .com. You're not using this one, right? Don't you dare use this one.
Hey everybody, I want to thank you so much once again for tuning in. You're watching Talktails, which is just literally just a couple feet from the world famous Las Vegas Boulevard. And we are coming to you live from the Vegas Video Network studios, at least for now until they figure out we don't pay the rent here. I shouldn't have said that, should I, Scott?
This is the hardest show.
Well, he mentioned Don Rickles. I thought I'd just go down that path for the rest.
You can go bowling next time.
See, I'm still a little sore that I didn't get invited to the putt-putt tournament.
You're in, brother. You're in.
And incidentally, was 20 feet from my house.
You're in.
And you know what? But what I heard when you were talking about before is that you actually threw a putt-putt tournament. I mean, you actually, you know what I'm saying? It's not like you threw a basketball game at the NCAAs. You threw a putt-putt golf tournament.
You know, when I first met you, I thought, this is an exciting time. I've heard great things about Clint Holmes. Nice fella, smiley guy. You are really mean to me.
That's okay.
The dark side.
That's okay. Right. There's nothing a little hug won't fix later. Isn't that right?
Just go ahead, Chris, do the show.
Well, Clint, I think you know, and I, as I told you, the first show I ever saw in Las Vegas was your show at Harrah's, your big headlining show. And what was so cool is that you were somebody who believes in local entertainers and the music scene. And you mentioned in your show that after your performance, you were going to be going over to the Palms to see some buddies of yours in Santa Fe Horns,
right.
Which we thought, oh, Mike, Marley and I looked at each other and said, well, maybe if we go, we can meet you. So we went over there, we went up to your table, and I introduced myself. And you were as gracious to me as though you had known me your whole life. And I will never forget that. I know you'll never remember that in your life. It's like 5 years ago. But I thought, you know, now here's something, I want to be like this. I want to be a really tan guy with great teeth that sings for a living. I don't have the tan down quite as much yet, and I'm really jealous of that. I have to be honest. It's something I aspire to, but...
Thank you. No, I do. I'm a big believer. This is a community.
Yes.
It's a community. And a large part of what this community is about is entertainment. And so here we are. And I mean, we share the anxieties of it. We share the joys of it. We share the creativity of it. And I wish we could, you know, do more of this where, you know, we share it in real terms. So I love that. And I love inviting people up on stage with me. I love, you know, jumping up on stage with other entertainers. And it's just a camaraderie. I mean,
that's what it's about, is creating a...
And you're into that too. You guys are into that.
Well, that was kind of my agenda when I came out here, is to create the type of show where there was that camaraderie, where every week we have guests from the entertainment pool, so to speak, which there's so much, as you know, every Monday night.
Yeah.
There is world-class singers, dancers, comedians that come on to your show on Monday nights at the Bootlegger, about somewhere between 10 and 12-ish.
9 and 12.
9 and 12.
Yes.
And it's a cavalcade of internationally phenomenal talent.
And you know what's great about it too, Chris, is that she'll get someone to come up and sing, and everybody in the room goes, "Wow!"
God, I know.
And then you talk to him later, and what do you do? Say, "Well,
where's your show?"
I'm a security guard at the, you know, and you go, "Really?" You know,
or it's a restaurant host.
So that says a lot about the state of where Las Vegas is today. I know you guys have been around here long enough to see not the downfall, but kind of the hotels leaning towards DJs and other forms of entertainment, particularly in the lounges, compared to live bands. And I think that's kind of a shame. And in the showrooms, you don't see the big orchestras anymore. You see backing tracks and such.
I'm so happy that she came back with the kind of show she came back with.
Yes, I agree with you
the
completely.
orchestra.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. I guess I get it, I mean, because it all boils down to money. But I don't get it because our town, it's kind of like going to see a Broadway show and having a taped orchestra. You know what I mean? Fortunately, they have laws in New York that if you're consider yourself a Broadway show, you have to have X amount of musicians.
That's cool.
Because it is a part of it. I mean, it's a part of it.
Built on that.
Yep.
And that's what Las Vegas started with, the live shows.
It is, and I don't.
That.
Yeah, I don't think that casino executives who make these decisions have any clue the impact of what the sound and the feeling of a live orchestra has subconsciously on the audience, which makes them want to come back time and time again, and even, quite frankly, get it riled into a drunken frenzy and go out in the casino and spend more money than they would if they just saw some backing tracks.
That was the whole idea.
Yeah, I used to get
such a party.
The people at Harrah's, used to say to me, what we love is when people leave the show, they're energized. And they go bam, they go right down to the tables. I mean, and obviously they still can be energized. It's just that they make it so hard now on us, on us. I mean, first of all, 9 times out of 10 you have to pay for the room,
Yes.
And then you got, obviously we have to pay for our band. And then we have to pay for our advertising and the tech and so on and so forth.
And it makes it prohibitive for so much talent to score anything that resembles a show anymore.
I'm very grateful that I came in kind of just before that happened. So I got the opportunity to do my show and be paid for it.
Well, I hate to change the subject, but there's some things I really want to touch on before we are done with this segment. And that is, you'd mentioned Broadway shows.
Yeah.
You have, to some degree, written and produced and created a couple shows of your own.
Right.
Most recently, I would love for you to tell us about the show you did with Bill, and what's the story with that now? I know you had the opportunity to perform that a couple.
Just Another Man
Just
Jam.
Another Man show.
It was
kind of a story of your life.
Yeah, it is. It's my family, and it's what we touched on a bit earlier. The black and white, in the 50s when it was not, it was illegal. It was legal in 17 states. My mom and dad, when they came over after the war, could not have been. They were illegal. Imagine that.
Yeah, it's not something.
Yeah, and so it was that whole journey, and my sister and I growing up in there, and finding our place, and fortunately we had music. It's not an exaggeration to say that music saved our lives. The fact that we had that gift from mom and dad, and it was a place to be and established. That's what the show's about. It's still very much alive. I'm having more and more of a presence in New York now, because that's where it ultimately I want it to go.
Well, speaking of New York, this has got to be one of the coolest things you've done in your professional career, something you just got done doing a couple weeks ago, which I wish so badly I could have gone out and been part of. I'm talking about Feinstein's. Particularly being a jazz singer, as you both are, having the experience to go out there and sing in this legendary place at the Lowe's Registry?
Yeah, Regency.
Regency Hotel.
Yep.
And not only, this is amazing, folks. My friend Clint here, how many shows? A couple shows, a couple weeks? I don't even know.
I was there a week, just a week.
A week?
Yeah.
You did a week in New York, Feinstein's. That in and of itself is cool.
It was great.
But in your audience, to have Liza Minnelli sitting there.
Opening night, Liza Minnelli, Harry Belafonte.
Mayor
Dee
Dinkins.
Bridgewater, Mayor Dinkins was there. Leslie Bricusse, who wrote Stop the World. Leslie Bricusse was there. Who?
Billy Stritch.
Billy Stritch, great pianist. It was. And the funny thing is, first, and the New York Times was there, right? And to review it.
Well, may I read a quote from Stephen Holden?
Yeah, New York Times.
This is what he had to say about you, my friend.
Oh, okay.
Your high-energy singing is a friendly frontal assault whose sheer enthusiasm softens your resistance. Now, I read this and I wondered, is he reviewing you or an X-rated film? I'm not really sure.
Exactly, a full frontal assault. I knew I should have taken pants. I knew that, but I just kind of said, let's try this.
No, but that had to be so exciting to have that caliber of talent in front of you.
Yeah.
And the Harry Belafonte song.
I wrote a song for Harry Belafonte
Oh, my God.
called "At the Feet of Belafonte." So to sing the song with, the guy sitting there was just. So I go like this. Deo. I hold the microphone out, and there's Harry Belafonte going, Deo. I said, well, okay, well, that's it. That's it. I can go.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a thrill. And on the heels of that, I'm going in October to the Cafe Carlisle. Which is to do the first, Bobby Short, the great cabaret entertainer who was there for 37 years, passed away in 2005. And they've asked me to do the first show ever in the Carlisle honoring Bobby Short in particular. So we're working very hard on that. It's a 3-week engagement, and it's very, very scary. I already know Rex Reed, Gloria Vanderbilt, Stephen Holden, all of them are going to be there opening night because they all loved Bobby. And so, we really want to do it well. We want to honor him and still maintain kind of, who we are. It's an interesting journey.
Well, I'll tell you something. I couldn't be more proud to be sitting next to two people that I am, without question, probably your biggest fans. But speaking of fans, we have a couple more people in our live chat room. If you don't mind, would you take another question? If you don't mind, Scott.
Which camera do we look at to take the question? That's the only not sure. Because there's 15 cameras, and I get very
Clint, I'd like you to look in the back. We have 2 questions. Charles wants to know, have you played the MDA telethon, and if so, or even if not, do you have an opinion on Jerry Lewis not being there this year?
Yeah, I have. Have you done it, Chris, yet?
We had the pleasure of doing it a couple of years ago, and it was so exciting. But
Kelly did it,
I did it
a
as
couple
well.
years ago too. And I've done it. I don't have an opinion. I don't know the politics of that. I know that Jerry Lewis, so much of his life has been dedicated to that organization, and I don't think that it stops even if he's not on the show. But yes, it's always an honor to do that show.
Yeah.
And then finally, Nate wants to know, have you, the Las Vegas entertainers, have you all thought about getting together as a group and launching, financing your own shows or show?
Wow. No, I don't think we've specifically talked about that. I think we've all individually talked about how to finance and launch our own shows. It would. It isn't easy. I just like the fact that, Chris is one, and we are too, who go to shows and support other entertainers and have that sense of camaraderie. But it is hard to put it together right now in town, and that's not sour grapes. That's just the way it is, and I don't know if it's going to change. What do you think?
It's tough because, as you pointed out earlier, every room in this town now requires you to come in with some form of financial backing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And, with the current climate of the economy here in Las Vegas in particular, it's not a wise investment to really invest into a show that, quite frankly, as you folks know, just to get it off the ground and to market the thing is $1 million.
It's much like doing a Broadway show. It's really like that, and I admire, I love what you just said because I feel that too. There aren't many investors that I would even encourage to, because we know the reality of it, the hotels have to participate or else we don't have much of a chance, and they call it a 4-wall when there's no participation from the hotel. I think that the best shot right now are 2 walls where the hotel will say, okay, we'll do some of the advertising, we'll be in there with you on
particularly with the marketing.
Yeah.
Because as you know, unless you put 20 to 40 grand a week into marketing the show,
they don't know
you're not
there.
You're not going to have anybody there.
Yeah.
And then you're wasting your time. And I know it's such a struggle for so many quality shows and so many talented people that come to Las Vegas with these dreams and aspirations of living out their fantasy of being a Vegas entertainer, and then they're slapped in the face with the reality of, it just doesn't work that way anymore out here.
And it's not about the talent.
No, it's not. And to kind of get back to their question, I think it would be amazing to have some form of a variety show where there is the caliber of talent of a Clint Holmes and a Kelly Clinton on the same stage that shares it with other entertainers of your caliber, so to speak, with an orchestra. And but that that to get something off the ground like that would take quite an effort for sure.
It would, and those are called benefits.
They are called benefits.
And we get together for those.
We do those. We all do those.
For those.
And part of the wonderfulness of doing benefits really is that we all get to see each other and we work and we talk backstage.
Is there anything coming up in the future either one of you can tell us about or allowed to? And particularly you, I know you hinted to something.
I'll make you a promise that if it happens, and I'll come back and we'll talk about it. Okay?
Can I tell them about mine?
Absolutely.
Well, October 17th.
Okay.
New York.
New York.
Metropolitan Room. I'm going to do my show. I'm going to do
Kelly.
a one-woman show and bring my musical director, Mike Clark, and do some of my crazy characters and song and tell my story. And it's called Freckles and 80-Year-Old Bones. You'll have to come to New York.
Well, honey, I am so proud of you, and like I said, you don't have a bigger fan than me, and I know that if you want to see just even a little taste of what Kelly's talking about, you can go out and see her every Monday night at the Bootlegger. And are we still doing anything over at the Turnberry here and there?
I'm still there. On Saturday nights
Okay.
I perform, and I book the entertainment the rest of the week. So.
But you're right. The Monday night at the Bootlegger. It's a
Monday
special
is so
night.
much
It's
fun.
amazing. You really get to stretch, and you get to see so many facets of what you do. And
You get a big show for dinner
I should say
and
so.
a few drinks.
And every once in a while, Chris gets up.
well,
Right?
when you want the show to take a complete dive, just have me come in for sure.
Stop.
Well, folks, I don't know how to thank you enough for coming on our little show and bringing some big-time entertainment presence to Talktails. And I would love, if at all possible, if I could have you back, because there's so much more to talk about.
There
We
is a
couldn't
lot
even
more.
scratch the surface with you two.
I am actually stunned that you're good at this.
You're really, you're really good at this. Really good at this.
Well, you know, Crown Royal pretty much gets me through any set of circumstances. But, folks, once again, I'd like to let you know that if you want to get in touch with us throughout the week with any kind of questions or comments, particularly for my two guests, we'll probably ignore them and I'll forget to get back to you. But once again, it's Talktails at VegasVideoNetwork.com. My name is Chris Phillips. Folks, if you're in Las Vegas, look these two up. It's without a question an honor to have you both sitting next to me, and I wish you both the best of luck, and both professionally and personally, you guys are wonderful folks. You just made my whole day.
Cheers, brother.
See you at the tanning salon.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next Monday at 5 o'clock.